I can't when we get to the Flight 462 podcast. I'm just
All
pointing
right,
out.
I'll step in for you this week, Aaron, but I have to say that, not to spoil anything for this show, but actually Flight 462 had more action in it than this entire episode did. So
This
that's
is
all I'm
a
going
big
to say.
gap. Okay.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll see
get
as it goes
there.
on.
We'll get there like 20 minutes from now. We'll get to the Flight 462 podcast.
We will.
I
I'll step in for you
just
this
want you guys to know. I'm going to be learning this for the first time, so I'm going to be excited about it.
You got it.
Awesome.
I'll do it justice.
It's funny because I pretty much have one word to describe this week's Flight 462. So
I'm seething with anticipation right now.
It's getting good. That's all I'm going to say. It's getting really pretty good, actually. Finally.
Yeah, that's what people say online. They say you have to really watch the first 8 episodes before it gets good in the Flight 462.
Yeah, those first 8, once you get through that, they're snoozers. Once you get past that, it gets really good.
Yeah, it's like
You
the
have to
worst
invest the whole-
Netflix binge you could be doing.
yeah, you'd have to invest a whole minute and 15 seconds of your time into getting caught up.
That's funny.
But yeah, I guess we start with a little bit of news. I guess the big thing on The Talking Dead they announced was that there's going to be a full-time Walking Dead attraction at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which, based on some of what they were showing, it almost seems like it's a haunted house.
Well,
is that what?
Yeah, if you've been to Universal Studios Hollywood, I live in the area. I have many times. I like Universal. There used to be a Universal every year they do like a Halloween thing where they have they convert a lot of the park into haunted houses. And there's one specific place they used to be doing it to like Universal Monsters. That was like a haunted house that was always there. They closed that part off now, and I was wondering what it was going to be. And that apparently is what it's going to turn into. It's just basically a year-round haunted house that's themed after The Walking Dead. So you just kind of walk through a path, things will jump at you and whatnot, and it'll be representative of the show.
Now, I know that in Orlando, Universal Studios, they've done the Walking Dead experience for the last couple of years, but it was around Halloween. It was only temporary. They did one, I think, around season 3, and then around season 4. They did around season 5. The last 2 or 3 years they've done it, and then they've taken it down. So now it sounds like it was so popular, they're going to make it a permanent attraction at the Hollywood location, which I think makes great sense. I also one time did a Walking Dead. It was like a zombie run type of thing. It was like an experience. It was actually on the Intrepid in New York City, where it was right around the time of New York Comic Con. You just kind of start at this obstacle course and you just run through this maze. It was actually pretty cool. It wasn't exactly scenes from the show, but it was pretty close. They had like a school bus you walk through, and
I did
these little military things. It was great.
I did the exact same thing at Comic Con San Diego.
Okay.
They have Petco Park there, the baseball
Yes.
field, where they
Yes.
set up as like this entire obstacle course. You're running up and down like the various parts of Petco Park, and that's it's fun for sure. But yeah, that's different obviously because you got like sign waivers and do all that. And
Right.
You're running around. Where this is just like a standard like walk through the haunted house and people are dressed up in costumes to jump at you at various points kind of thing.
I have to say one thing though. If it really was a zombie apocalypse, my girlfriend would just leave me in the dust. Okay, she ran so fast and so far away from me. I'm like, thanks for saving me, honey. I really appreciate that. I'm bitten, I'm dead, and you're just running away from the zombies. That's great. Thank you.
I think I talked about this on like a past episode of the WDTV podcast, and I mentioned I went back and helped the guy. There was someone that was like zombies coming after him, and
You're Glenn, huh?
I ran back and like tried to distract the zombie who was apparently very much a character because he fell for this, and he just kind of came at me, so the other guy could get around him and ran away. And that's when issue 100 was coming out because that was like your prize for like finishing the race. You got like
okay.
a paperback copy of issue 100.
That's
I
cool.
read because I read the hardcover, so I had this giant spoiler in my hands for a long time, not knowing what it actually was.
So Aaron, we'll expect a full review of the Hollywood Universal Studios attraction when this opens up. Walking Dead attraction.
Oh, for sure. I will go live on my official Facebook page, dragging my girlfriend along with me.
That's it.
I'm waiting for them to add a VR experience to the Walking Dead experience. So.
Now, in this experience, would you be biting? Would you be a zombie in this experience, or would you be a person running away? It could go both ways. I feel.
I think so.
Would you want to bite somebody wearing a VR system?
Sure. Yeah. So we'll see how that plans out. The other bit of news is something I saw today. I guess it was on Twitter that I guess Kirkman was rumored to play. I guess he was rumored to be a part of the writers' room for this new Transformers by committee thing going on. I mean, this isn't Walking Dead specific, but it's Kirkman related. And he said no, that he had to bow out. Apparently, he had some sort of throat surgery or something like that he had to go through, and it was right before Comic Con where he had to miss Comic Con, and so he had to bow out of that process. But spoke very highly of the folks that are continuing on with that franchise.
Yeah, I mean, that feels more like I'm not going to say. I mean, regardless of if he had a good or bad experience, it's not like he's going to say it sucked while I was there, and I hope I never work with anything that'll give me money again. Like that's not what he's going to say. Like, yeah, that's I recall that news as well. Where Kirkman, like you said, Russ, it's like the Transformers sequels. They have a bunch of writers basically working in different groups to make the different upcoming films to kind of have a better, I guess, feel for the characters or whatnot. And Kirkman was going to be among them, and he had to step away from it. So.
Yeah, we're going to Flight 462, the sequel.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what he's really shepherding that one right now.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll talk about, and this isn't really Walking Dead related, but it is in the fact that we know it's going to replace Fear the Walking Dead on Sundays on May 22nd, and that is Preacher.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Can't wait for that. That looks great.
Which I premiered at South by Southwest, I believe today or yesterday, and I think today, and I heard great things, so I'm looking forward to it.
Did they show the whole episode or just a piece of the first episode? Or what did they?
I'm pretty sure they premiered the first episode.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah. And try to be careful on Twitter because apparently Entertainment Weekly revealed like a giant spoiler or something that happens. That's like a surprise.
Lovely.
Because they do
I guess that does, yeah, of course. One of the things that does confirm that is Walking Dead related is that it won't be a 16-episode straight run for Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, although I guess it could be after. I mean, it's premiere. Oh no, you know what? It premieres at no season 2. It's a season 2 finale. But that can't be right because it's Fear the Walking Dead got 16.
16. So it's probably the mid-season finale. It's probably 8.
It's got to be the
mid-season,
mid-season,
exactly
yeah.
right. Yeah. So that's kind of what we speculated.
Yeah, we did.
That
We
split
did.
up within the summer.
Yep.
Like it would be like because April, so that goes to May, then that goes away, and then it comes back in like late July,
August, or maybe a little bit before then, and then they'll go right into October and then continuous.
So you're almost getting year-round Walking Dead to a point, like with like minus 16 weeks total, basically, right? If
Yeah.
I'm doing my math correctly.
Well,
Something like that. Give or take a few weeks.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Did Preacher get? So I'm wondering if did Preacher get 6 episodes? Because normally the first season is like a 6
Six
episode.
episodes by usually. Yeah.
I can
So-
check real quick, but yeah, it's probably 6 or 8.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So cool.
10 episodes.
Oh wow.
10 episodes.
Okay. So that could theoretically take us to the summer then. That could take us into
They
the summer.
go made like mid-August, which is when the first season of Fear the Walking Dead premiered. So.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So we'll go. Yeah, we'll have Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Preacher, Fear the Walking Dead, and then Walking
And
Dead.
Sunday.
Eventually, I assume Chew will get an adaptation too. So AMC will just have Chew, Preacher, Walking Dead, like all over the place.
It'll be awesome.
It feels right. Like join this league of graphic novels on AMC.
Are they bringing that into the Badlands?
Yeah, I got renewed for a second season.
Yes,
so there you go.
did.
Can't wait to get your spoiler-filled teasers for the next week's episode of Walking Dead.
Don't get us. They better not do that again. They better not do that again.
Well, it worked apparently since it got a second season. Watch 2 seasons for the next season. Walking Dead. You watch 2 straight commercial breaks into the Badlands.
We'll bury the preview somewhere in the second half of Into the Badlands on
Get the
AMC.
exclusive teaser of Flight 462 season 2 during the 3rd commercial break for Into the Badlands.
This is getting ridiculous, man. This is just too much.
I'm glad it's back. I'm glad the Hulk gets fired got a 3rd season, which really shocked the hell out of me. Like
I couldn't sleep that show, man. I
did not
can't keep up with it. It's like
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
I'm looking forward to Mr. Robot coming back. That we were talking about earlier. I think that's a great one on USA.
This is a great episode of the Walking Dead TV podcast, by the way.
We talk about everything.
Guys, how cool is this?
All right, tell Jim he has to do Nothing's On. Okay, we're doing it for him. This is a special episode. Nothing's On.
Also, I will say this, there was more Walking Dead news. The Michonne Telltale Games miniseries, that's the second episode coming out March 29th.
Oh, okay.
There's a new trailer up for, so like the second episode of the 3-part miniseries Michonne Walking Dead Telltale Games. So.
Nice. I'll have to catch up on that for sure. All right, so let's get into it. The Same Boat, episode 13, season 6. I don't have a ton of notes. Well, I guess I do have quite a few notes, but this was kind of like a character study, obviously, for this episode, more so than anything else. And I thought it was extremely well done. And I like the fact that, kind of like we called it last week, that this would be the Carol Maggie-centric episode, that we probably wouldn't see a whole lot else going on in the episode. And that's pretty much what happened. I mean, obviously we got a little bit of Rick and crew at the end, but 90% of the episode was just Paula and her crew and Maggie and Carol. And, starting in the beginning where we kind of back up from the end of the previous episode a little bit, where we find out how Maggie and Carol get kidnapped or captured. And it was funny because I thought, so when it first starts and Carol's like, look, we gotta get out of here, and Maggie wants to go help him. And of course, Maggie should have listened to Carol right off the bat, but she didn't. And when Carol shot that guy, I was like, okay, my first instinct was, you could shoot zombies in the head from 100 yards with a pistol, waving in the air, but this guy's coming up to do something and you shoot him in the arm. And that bothered me for a little bit.
You didn't realize that she purposely missed?
At first, no, I really didn't.
Later on,
I really didn't. I should have.
Because you can see her, like, she hesitates, and you can see her like aiming right at, you can see where she's aiming, and you can see her kind of move her arm to the side, and just so, nope, I'll just wing him.
Yeah, on the first watch, I didn't catch it. Yeah, I didn't catch it. But on the second watch, you see her, she's aiming for his head, that she kind of deliberately moves to the right and down, and then kind of wings him in the arm.
And I guess part of it was I was still in the mode of Carol being the badass, like Carol, wanting, being the killer, and not realizing how much of a contents of crisis that she's really going through, or that she has been going through. Which becomes apparent in this
obviously the episode goes over that in full, and this is kind of the start of it. But I'm a little surprised, Russ, because last week you were kind of advocating how Carol might be having a change in conscience and whatnot. Here's an episode that begins right away with me thinking, hey, Russell's right about that. Here we go. We're going to see a whole episode devoted to Carol dealing with her like sudden consciousness coming out of it, that's emerging from her pragmatic sense of ability to actually think about some of the things that I'm doing here.
I mean, she's in full moving mode now. I mean, if you think about it, up to a certain point of this episode, she's just
kind of.
She's debating the thoughts because she still does cap a few people at the end of this episode. But
but took a while to get to that point.
As far as like overall thoughts, like a brief thought of this episode, I think it's mostly well done. It's certainly a good episode, and certainly because of what Carol adds to it. I think that it's a thing about the show in general where I'm like, it's become a little too comfortable in not killing people off. Where I'm not worried about Maggie and Carol too much to really be focused on whether or not they're going to die this time. It's just more of like, all right, I'm just going to sit back and wait for things to actually happen. So in that regard, it's like, all right, it's a little stale watching very cartoonish people and Alicia Witt try to present themselves as a threat when nothing's really going to happen to them. But I do like all the Carol stuff that's going on, which is that's 2 weeks in a row, great Carol stuff. So kudos to the show on that front.
Yeah, I definitely felt like a little bit of a bottle episode. I mean, it really was. It was shot 99% in one room, and it looks like it blew the budget from last week's episode completely out of the water. We had to dial it back a little bit, and okay, that's fine. It's television. I guess it has to happen. It was definitely a waltz or a dance between two main characters, Alicia Witt and Carol Melissa McBride. I didn't have any big problems with it. The only note I did put is, I mean, we could handle maybe another B story somewhere. I mean, we didn't have to spend the whole episode in this room. We could have maybe jumped to something else. But then again, I'm thinking where? Like we want to see Rick just running towards the building. I mean,
basically, you get shots of them tracking where the group
tracking.
But I mean, I feel like I think you've seen that before.
We've seen that. So
I praise the show to a point for being ambitious in terms of here's what I kind of like about this episode is that it's written by Angela Kang and it's featuring all females as the kind of lead characters. Like the second the one guy that got shot in the arm speaks up, he gets beaten up by 2 women in the episode.
Poor old Donnie. He didn't get the chance to do all the women around him. Yeah,
this is an episode for the women. I mean, which is that's not a joke or anything like that.
No.
It's something you can try to appreciate. I would have liked more of the other characters were also interesting in some way instead of just like I'm the one that smokes and hates religion and I'm the one that's hard ass all the time. But besides that, it's like all right, well, it's a novel idea of how to approach this episode.
That's it. You mean Shell and Miles? Is that what you're talking about? Good old Shell and Miles.
Yeah. I like how the one thing they convey is that these people are fairly highly organized. They put the not hoods, but they put the jackets over Maggie and Carol's head, and it seems like the thing that kept going through my head is when they covered up Carol's head, she was looking down at her feet. I almost could sense that she's counting steps, like she's counting paces. She's paying attention to the direction she's being turned, almost like she's trying to keep track of. They never said it. They never made it seem like that was what was going on. But it was almost like she was trying to get clues as to what direction and how far away they were.
I agree. I think. I honestly think that if Carol wasn't having this kind of crisis of conscience in this episode, that she probably could have gotten them all out of there within like 5 minutes. But because she was, it's like, all right, I guess I'll let these people live for a while so they can talk, and then I can figure my stuff out in my head right now. But she could have easily probably broke everything out, killed everybody in the room, got out of there, got Maggie out of there, got back to Rick right away. But she decided not to do that this time. She got info. She was sitting there while pretending to be one person. She was certainly gathering her own form of intelligence from them the way she asked her questions, which I thought was among the number of clever things she did in this episode. But yeah, I completely agree. Russ. I think she was easily probably just considering where she was to find a way out if need be.
It was a cool point of view shot, definitely with the camera pointed down, and you do hear Carol panting or breathing heavy. It's not Maggie, it's definitely Carol. That we're seeing her point of view at that point, I think, and then it was very well done. I agree. But before she gets carted away, I like the little negotiation scene between Alicia Witt and Rick. That was really cool with walkie-talkies and just it was cool. It was a good little scene. I did like that.
I like how highly organized they are. I mean, they're talking about switching channels. They're talking about, okay, if you don't hear from me in this time during this time frame, switch over to this channel, and this means that.
And Bravo, Tango channel, Theta channel, Gamma channel, or something like that. It's like, okay, all right. I mean, it's cool.
I mean, yeah, this isn't your run-of-the-mill, group of yokels that they're running into. I mean, these people are, like I said, they're trained. They have it together, which is something we haven't really seen to this level. Where they've encountered people, that have this much together. I mean, the Alexandrians obviously had, their fortress built or whatever you want to call it, their community built, but they're just kind of living safe behind the walls, and that was their strategy. The Terminus people were just, insane cannibals.
I mean, the Terminus people, they never, we just never really saw them outside of their own world. Like within their world, they were fairly organized, and it just took a giant explosion by Carol to disrupt that organization. But for the most part, they seem to have everything under control inside.
Right.
I would say most of their loyalty to the governor and his people. Like they don't know what's going on, and they just have a crazy man leading them. Where I agree with you. Here, they're much more organized. These saviors.
Apparently, I mean, so we can. They're trying to plant those seeds. We'll actually see, I'm sure, soon. But I mean, I guess they're organized. So you're right. They've had these little safe houses with fuel in them, and we saw the gas cans inside the kill room of the building that we go into. So yeah, I guess they have a complete layout of safe houses they can go to and radio communications.
They have a satellite base that's literally a satellite.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I get that said. Here we go. They're organized, sure, and they seem like they know what they're doing, except when Rick and the gang are around, because when Rick and the gang are around, they just get wiped out completely. No questions asked. Like they're not good in battles against Rick, which I mean, we're getting to Negan. Obviously, we're getting there. I don't care what people say as far as we're all Negan. There's, we obviously know there's a central Negan.
Yeah.
In the Negan brain trust that we're being lured into. But I feel like we're being cozied into a sense that Rick and the gang they're better than everything, and that's gonna fall flat on its face once we finally actually meet Negan or a group that's more powerful than the ones we've encountered so far between dick motorcycle people and evil bearded people, and then the group of very angry women.
Yeah, I think part of it, I wonder if it's just they're not used to this, right? They're used to like the Hilltop people or whoever else they've come across that they've been able to either steamroll over or intimidate, and so I think some of that is they're just used to, okay, we're gonna come across some people and we're just gonna overpower them, because we're so organized, and they finally come across a bunch of people that have been battle hardened for how many ever years or months have gone by since this thing started, and just gone from one crisis to the next, and having to survive on their wits and it being a tight, almost like a Delta Force or like a SEAL Team 6 kind of thing with Rick's group, where they don't have the huge numbers, but they're a well-oiled machine. And I think with Negan, it's more we've got a ton of people and we just overwhelm you with force and the threat of.
They're more like mercenaries versus elite ops. Like Rick's team is elite ops, and these guys are just a bunch of ragtag mercenaries that are they have some guns and they have some radios and they've got a biker gang and they've got a satellite compound. But that
it's all fair. I think it's for me. It's that 8 episodes is a long time, and so we're doing a lot to kind of stave off the introduction of a Negan character, which I just feel like I have to assume is going to be the finale at this point. Just because the impact that he's supposed to eventually have, that I think is implied by the show, is that one that will be the kind of thing that sets you up for the end of a season, as opposed to next week or the week after, and we only have 3 episodes left. But with that in mind, because of it taking so long to set up this epic finale, some might be like me, might be a little more tired of saviors that get killed by Rick more than others, who are just like, oh, I can't wait to be the leader of these saviors.
every savior that Rick's encountered or Rick's gang is dead at this point.
Yeah.
Every single one. I mean, the biker gang blown to smithereens. The satellite house was totally destroyed. this group of ladies was gone. I mean, that's it. It's a lot of losses for Negan's team so far.
And Rick suffered nothing. No casualties for him so far.
Not a scratch. Right, you're right.
which again is more and more ominous that score is going to get balanced out a little bit, if nothing else. But also, I think it sets up a little more what the book didn't do, is the fact that when Negan comes in, presumably will come in and come down hard, that he's got a little more impetus for it than maybe. I think in the book they could get the way they, not to spoil anything, but the way they make him kind of like insane and crazy, but in a different way than the governor. They can't really do in the TV show. I think they have a lot of liberties when it comes to violence and language and stuff like that, but they won't be able to touch what
based off the way the show has set itself up over the years. I can understand, and obviously just based off what is allowed on television, I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
To a point.
I thought it was funny.
There's some crazy things in recent weeks involving the show.
That's true. That is true.
But I mean, just think of the head count though. I mean, they've already killed maybe 30 people so far in Negan's group.
At least,
if not, I mean, the 5 on the road, the satellite people, God knows how many there were there, and then the little gang that showed up to rescue the girls today, that was another 4 of them, 5 of them. I mean, at least 35, 40
people
people
that were burned trying to save them.
That's what I meant, right? Yeah. So it's like Primo, he's gone. I mean, that's it.
Yeah, we're due for something, I guess.
Yep. I love how it's funny when they first show Alicia Witt's character and she's outside when they've got Carol and Maggie. She looks terrible. I mean, like purposely terrible. Like it's not even like a person without makeup. Like they purposely put makeup on her to look like she's had a rough time. And then it seemed like, I don't know, maybe I was the only one to notice it. But then when they show them inside the facility after they bring Carol and Maggie there, she's like, her makeup is better. It's almost like it's almost like
continuity
two
issue there.
It was a little jarring.
It's the lighting in that terrible burning room.
The kill room.
It's the kill. It's just much better in there. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
all the lighting.
Soft lighting.
It's all
I think Alicia Witt's character overall.
I wish he was still alive.
She was complex. I liked her. I liked the guy that was on the bike that they killed off that quick too. I mean, back with Negan's gang, those are 2 characters that could have been really interesting. Although I'm sure for Hollywood reasons they couldn't sign them to multiple episodes. But maybe Alicia Witt couldn't, but the other guy could have. I mean, I would like to see those characters develop and become larger characters in the show, but couldn't happen.
I mean, I can see that happening just because you have some good, decent actors there that can kind of do what they need to do to create a persona. At the same time, the show wrote Paula a certain way where I get what she had to offer, and I'm not sure what else she could. I mean, obviously they could flesh things out more if they want to carry on, but I mean, the purpose of her character was just to show kind of like a younger version of Carol, who's on the if Carol's on the the side of the Force, she's on the dark side, and she's going to continue sliding down that way. And it was neat to see the kind of back and forth between someone like Carol, who's more experienced than Paula is, but Paula's on the way to becoming someone like Carol. She kept going, but to a darker degree than Carol has become.
I mean, I could see her even knowing Paula. I mean, or Alicia Witt going toe to toe with Rick. She held her own really well in those little conversations on the walkie-talkie. I mean, she wasn't intimidated by him, and she wasn't second guessing.
It's a walkie-talkie.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a pretty good story. Her going.
I'm way weaker than the macho facade that I put on this podcast, but I mean, I'm talking to a microphone, so it's much different.
Yes, dear. Are you done recording up there, Aaron? Yes, dear. I'll be right down, honey.
I guess I would have liked to see maybe Carol have like a nemesis. Like somebody.
That's Morgan.
With an axe to grind against Carol. That's Morgan.
Yeah, it's Morgan. You're right. We'll just turn into Morgan. Yeah.
Because I kind of ultimately see this as like a Negan and Rick face off, kind of like the governor. It's like the 2 alphas of the group kind of facing off against each other. I think it would have been kind of cool to have somebody carry on to be almost like a B plot rivalry to the A plot. But I get it. I mean, I get the purpose of what they were trying to do with her character and why she was there and how they picked her to play off of Carol. I think it was really, really well done. That's the stuff to me that really worked.
She had the most character to work with, as opposed to, again, I smoke cigarettes and I'm going to be really just mean.
Oh, by the way, I'm dying.
It's just like these are cartoons. These aren't people. You're one of those. Like, what? Get out of here.
Yeah. As soon as she started coughing, I'm like, okay, where's the handkerchief that come out? Oh, there it is. There it is.
But yeah, Alicia Witt's character, I mean, Paula, she had, she talked about like her past. Like, I mean, they really condensed like a giant arc for her in this episode to make sure you understood this character, you could relate to that person in some way, or you see the thematic connections going on in this episode. So that's why she sticks out, why she works. And yeah, it is tragic to a point, especially if you get what Carol's doing, where she doesn't want to have to kill these people. She'd want to, in her own way, I guess, be something like Morgan, where she could adopt them into their society or do something that's different than just shooting one in the head. That she does that.
So I will back this up. I still need to catch up on Fear the Walking Dead, which I will before season 2 starts. But after seeing this, I'm like, and I know that the criticisms behind Fear the Walking Dead, I'm like, man, wouldn't it have been awesome if Fear the Walking Dead was just about Alicia Wood's character? Like, if Fear the Walking Dead would have started off in that office
And
building.
we toyed with that. We talked about that. Like, it would be cool to have crossover, like, maybe seeing the governor before it all fell apart. He was on a business trip to LA or something like that, or Andrea. But we definitely toyed with all that.
Well, yeah, it'd be neat if Fear the Walking Dead was more of like an anthology series that just follows various characters that we might already know or ones that we don't know, and just what led up to. Like, I mean, that'd be super cool.
Yeah.
I would say, right? Like that's what the episode
the
was
origins,
to a degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carol Peltier origins.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Walking Dead Origins is a better title than Fear the Walking Dead, by the way.
Yeah, I agree.
So, did you guys buy it when Carol was hyperventilating? I didn't really. I mean, was she really hyperventilating there, or was this part of her SEAL team stuff?
She was making it
Okay.
up. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
I bought that. I bought the fact that she was doing an act that would be convincing to others. I would say that. I guess.
Yeah, I have no question that she was going through a crisis of conscience, and I played around with this a lot because I was in my head. I was back and forth with: is she in psychopath mode and she's just totally playing these people, or is she really having this crisis of conscience where she's not sure if the right thing to do is to go total Carol mode on everybody in here? And I think maybe it was a little bit of everything, because part of it, I think she got to that point where she wanted more information, and obviously it was almost kind of like Black Widow in the Avengers, right, where she's sitting in the chair and she's like, and Coulson wants to pull her out, and she's like, this idiot's telling me everything, and I kind of got a little bit of a sense with that too, that she was playing up the weak, innocent person to gather more information about these people and who they are.
Yeah, it's. I really like the whole like I love the second they walk out of the room and Alicia Witt says, Jesus, there's some pretty badass lines. It's like just try me as far as like, and whatnot. You see Maggie trying to like figure a way to get loose, and Carol just calmly like sits there. She grabs the beads from that guy's
Rosary
leg,
beads,
across the rosary beads, puts that in her pocket. I was like, what is she gonna do? Is she gonna use that to cut herself out? It's like, no, she put it in her pocket, and then the second she grabs it, like when she gets her gag off, and she like does that. It's like this is awesome. I love how clever this is. She took this thing to make others think that she was a certain way.
weak.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, it was impressive to see just that kind of thinking going on.
Yeah, it was cute to see her protest the smoking while with the cigarette, and please don't smoke around the baby. And
With that said, I mean, obviously she's creating a persona, but I mean, along with the crisis of conscience, I do think she has legit concerns for Maggie. I
yeah,
don't think that's
big time.
that's not
Right.
coming out of nowhere. Like she's not playing up the idea that Maggie's pregnant, we need to protect Maggie. Like she has concerns. Like she brought it up before they got attacked last episode.
Yeah.
Were you a little surprised that Carol gave that up? Like that she said, don't hurt the baby, and Maggie was like, yeah, I'm probably 2 months along. Like it just seemed like that would be something you would want to protect.
Well, I mean, protect
not
Maggie
say.
could lead to them hitting her, and then she says it, and it's like, well, I should have brought that up
yeah,
earlier.
true.
Now the baby's possibly damaged.
That's true.
It seems like if you have that's kind of trump card to play, you might as well play that one sooner, because the downside of that is if you don't play it soon enough, there could actually be some damage to the thing you don't want to have happen.
I guess, but I just think it's almost like that's a sense of vulnerability. It's like, okay, now they have, if you're gonna have to torture one against the other, that's who you go to. You're gonna get, Carol, by showing her concern right off the bat for that. It's like, okay, that's their in to get at her. I don't know, just it didn't bother me. It just kind of made me think a little bit and just kind of taken aback for a second. I was
But
like, wow,
maybe because it wasn't men that were holding her hostage. Maybe she knew that if she played to that pregnancy status of Maggie, women would have more sympathy for that.
maybe.
That's my thought on that one. I think she did a good job just reading the room, essentially, not necessarily gender specific. I think that does play into it, perchance, but I would say she had a feel for what the people would respond to, and then enacted that kind of tactic. I would say I agree. I was kind of surprised that she brought it up early. I wouldn't play down. I wouldn't say it's like a bad thing she brought it up early, but I agree that I was slightly jolted. Like, oh, she brought that one out. All right.
She beats the hell out of what's his name, Donnie, when he gets up.
Okay.
Yeah, Maggie, nice headbutt though, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maggie's not messing
No,
around.
that was
By the time she gets to start doing stuff, she's not messing around. She destroys Smoking Lady. She destroys her. Like gun buzz the hell out of her.
It almost felt like Maggie was becoming Carol. I don't know if it's the protective mother instinct that was kicking in or what, but we've kind of seen a side of Maggie in the last couple episodes that we haven't really seen before. I mean, we've seen shades of it, but she just seems extra fierce. Like there were times, especially when she headbutted that dude, like she was almost feral. I mean, just totally in the moment. And I was getting a little concerned about that. And then of course we get to the end, and when she tells Glenn, she's like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, wow, like this experience really did a number on her for a variety of reasons. Obviously, I'm sure getting slashed in the stomach and
It missed her. Got her shirt.
No.
Well, I thought there was some blood.
Sure.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Oh,
it was
okay,
close.
I
I think Cho was aiming for her, like aiming for the baby, but
Well, she was aiming. No, she was aiming
Oh,
to get
okay.
her. But what I like about that, what I like about that scene actually is that when she did like slash and she saw Maggie look down, that's why she let her guard down, because she realized Maggie's telling the truth and that this is an actual, like regardless if she thought it was the truth or not, she realized the kind of the stakes of this fight that they're having right now could almost harm this baby that she realizes is actually true, because Maggie's very concerned about this hole that she got in her shirt all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then Carol
goes snaps back into reality.
So didn't she get kicked in the stomach though? At one
she got,
point,
like,
punched.
she got
I
punched.
think it was a stomach punch. It was like they had a little puzzle in the hallway, but I guess we can get that if you want.
I mean, if it was regardless if it was a stomach punch, I mean, it's not necessarily the absolute death of the baby.
No.
I mean, there's cause for alarm, yes, as far as Maggie's treatment in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I like the scene going a little further where Cho was talking to Maggie, and you see her cut off Pinky. As he was kind of interrogating Maggie, and I was like, wow, that's pretty shocking. And she had a couple of good lines in there. She goes, "You're not the good guys. You should know that. And the way you stay alive is you produce for us." So again, we're getting little threads and little crumbs about the saviors. Some more anyway.
That you're not the good guys line is that is a great line of this kind of half season here, and as far as kind of seeing where things are evolving. Obviously, that up last week where we have Rick and Glenn going around and killing people in their sleep, and I want to see this theme brought out more, because obviously we're not going to get perspectives too often that go against Rick, because Rick's our hero, quote unquote. But at the same time, if the show can dabble with what that really means, to if you look at these guys from a different way, they don't really seem like the good guys. They seem like they might be doing something for a purpose, but at the same time, are those do the ends justify the means? I guess, which is something the show is very much dabbling in lately.
Like we've only heard of the saviors only killing that one person, and that was apocryphal. That was just a story that the Hilltoppers told. Who knows if it's true? But that they killed that 16-year-old kid or whatever at Hilltop. I mean, so far,
They're cutting out Pinky
yeah,
tips.
all right, yes, and cutting off a Pinky. Now, here's a question: the ones that Daryl ran into in the burned out woods, and they said we're not going to kneel anymore. Were they escapees from Negan's group, from the saviors? We're not going to kneel anymore. We're tired of kneeling. It was that diabetic girl and the ones that the other girl and the guy.
The one that's got
Yes,
Daryl's
the Daryl has
line.
it back now, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I think we talked about this too last season, because I think we're speculating about that, because there was like a different group going
Right.
after them, and no one really said Negan
Nope.
or anything of that nature. But would we think it's another satellite group from Negan's, or was it just
It probably was Negan's group. Now looking back, I mean, but where's the whole kneeling thing coming in? I guess we'll see that later on. I'm sure, but
Well, that's the thing. I still don't think it was necessarily
Okay,
Negan's
okay.
group. I feel like that seemed.
I don't know. There was a pretty prominent scene from a comic book that comes out monthly where people were kneeling at one point and did that well.
all right,
So.
fair.
So
Yeah.
we'll get to that point then.
Well, remember they said like it scared like the main guy, but that wasn't like
Right.
He had
Yeah, he was the black boots like Rick. What's his
Yeah,
name? I forget
yeah.
his name now, but yeah, right. You didn't see his face. You just saw his like jeans and his boots and yeah.
it could be another community.
That's what I was thinking. Because, well, I guess we'll find out more once we find out how Daryl got the bike back. If we do. I mean, I guess, well, maybe we won't because Primo's dead now, so we're not going to know how the bike got back to Daryl, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think the big. We'll get to that at the end. But I think that was the biggest thing attached to the bike, not so much like how it got where it was, but Daryl's reaction to getting it back. But you know, we one of the things I have in my notes, and we kind of touched on this, and we'll touch on it further, is the whole comparison of Paula and Carol. That, you know, one is the other, which is pretty much the theme of this episode. But before we get further into it, it is time for Flight 462.
Okay.
Well, Aaron, and here it is. If you're ready for it,
Okay.
Flight 462. Here's your update. The walker that was shot a million times finally was killed by the Asian lady after the guy that looks like Tobias took the a spike and she drove it into his head.
Okay.
But at the end of the scene, we see that one of the bullets may have cracked the window of the airplane. The window starts cracking.
Oh, no.
And that's the end of Flight 462.
Oh, I'm standing right now. Oh
It was
my
a
God.
knitting needle that did that.
Knitting needle, thank you. That's what it was.
Oh,
Okay.
real good.
He grabbed it out of the mat pocket of whatever, the magazine pocket of another seat and gave it to the Asian lady.
Was the chubby kid featured?
Yes. I'm calling him one that looks like Toby.
Oh, that's
That's
the
what
guy.
he
That's
looked
the
like.
guy.
He walked
Yes,
like
the kid,
on
right.
the arms of the chairs to
Got
get to it. So
Oh, man, they got
Yeah, it was real nail biting for a minute. It was really good. She drove it in nicely. It was nice sound, but then the window starts cracking.
Oh, man.
starts with this little tiny hole, and then it spiders out into a really big one, and then boom.
Heating up.
You called that, Russ. You called that, man. The guy fired all those bullets. He said something's gonna go bad here with that. Yeah.
Heating up. Tension's brewing. Okay, that was the Flight 462 podcast.
That was the Flight
Was that satisfying?
That was good, yeah,
Okay.
good.
Okay. That was a lot more action than we had this whole episode, pretty much. So I mean, there was a lot going on there.
tense moment.
Very tense.
You like
One
the
little dialogue
technique-
between Paula and Carol. I don't know if it happened before, after Flight 462. I think it was a little bit before, but either way, Paula asked Carol why. Like finally, she asked, "Okay, why did you attack us?" Like she finally wanted to know why. And Carol says, "Look, five of you guys ambushed us on the road. You said we're going to take everything." And Chell says, "Oh, now we know what happened to T's group." So they're finally putting the pieces together. That it was Rick's group that took out and blew to pieces the biker gang, and it's all kind of coming together.
Yeah. When she's interviewing Maggie, she says that you know, I went looking for Frankie,
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, did you find him?" And she's like, "Well, all there was a bunch of pieces." And and it turns out Frankie was her father. So she, you know, the reason she got her pinky cut off, or part of it cut off, was because she was stealing gas to go find
For
her
the missing
father.
group. Yeah.
Yeah, to go find her father from this missing group. And you know, we
What was her
find
father? I think it was her
out-
boyfriend.
She was
said.
dating. She was dating someone. One of the guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was her father.
The father was the name on the tattoo, but the
Oh,
guy she was
okay.
looking for
No,
was
it's
somebody else.
Frankie. It said Frankie on the tattoo.
Right, that was her dad.
That was her dad, right?
She said that was her dad, yes, but
But the guy she was looking for was called something else.
She asked if Carol or Maggie asked if that was his name. She said no, that's my father. Or whatever.
Right.
Okay,
She,
all right.
she was looking for someone who was like her boyfriend or whatever.
Her boyfriend.
Okay, I got mixed up because I thought she said, well, he said who's the father, and she said, oh, just some guy or something like that. So it was kind of a weird conversation, but there was a connection there between, you know, them obviously. So that didn't work too well in their favor either, knowing that group was responsible. But I like how Carol played it off because she said from us, like Carol put it in that she was there firsthand when all that happened.
Well, I don't know. I think she said it more as a collective group. Like, you know, your people attacked
people,
us,
yeah.
not me, like us. You know, and
Right.
wanted to take everything that we had, and you know, she said it like that. And it was
I don't think it matters that much. I think
Right.
it's just more like she gave a reason of why they attacked, and then she, you know, in her you know, assumed character of like I'm a sweet person, but my group tried to stop your group from taking our things.
right.
Kind of thing.
And Miles was like, "Oh, they probably put on a big show. They probably, you know, said this and did that." And well, they did. They basically
Which
showed-
that felt like one of the more like this is women understanding what these like big men were doing kind of scene of like, yep, that's exactly what happened. But it's true. They just tried to put on a show.
Yeah.
we're not going to tell you.
Maybe-
Yes, we are. No, we're not.
You drag the whole thing out, makes it sound all macho on their big motorcycles and everything. He's like, she gets it. Like, she knows what they're doing.
Eat, chew, swallow, repeat. Right? Okay, yeah, that's it. Plenty of show.
Yeah. Now, a couple times in the episode, Paula was talking to Rick to kind of negotiate what was going on. And the whole time, it was meant to stall until her help could get to this facility.
Right.
And then they would, you know, kind of have their cake and eat it too, meaning they could take everybody out at the same time. But she was keeping Maggie and Carol alive to kind of hedge her bet, you know, in case they found her. She even put two and two together. Like, when they first talked to Rick, it was real staticky, a lot of breakup in the conversation. Then she talked to him a little later, and it was more clear. And so she's like, they're on their way. They must have found, you know, tracks or traces. And given, obviously, Daryl's, you know, good at that kind of thing, that it wasn't surprising that they would be able to pick up on a trail. But what I thought was funny was, Paula on the radio to Rick even called him, I think she said, "Hey, asshole." And again, it was kind of funny because that's what Glenn said to Rick over the radio when they first met. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that every time somebody gets on the radio, they call Rick an asshole.
And the other girl called him a smug prick too. Listen to that smug prick. It's great.
They got Rick's number.
Yeah, that was good. Well, I guess Paula didn't count on Rick having his own built-in Dixon to do some tracking for him because they're going to find him.
It's neat though that I do think Paula was a smart character as far as figuring things out as far as what Rick was. I kind of thought that she was going to figure out Carol's ruse, and she never really did until the very end of the episode. I guess like I figured she would at some point see through the guys that she was putting
See,
on.
I don't think it was a guys. I think she was weaving in and out of guys. I think it was like that was really Carol just breaking down for a minute.
Well, I mean, in terms of what she was saying, yes, like there's some emotional truth coming out
Yeah.
of her, but in terms of the way she presented herself as a physical threat, I don't think she tapped into that.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Which is why, you know, one lived and one didn't.
And then Carol was like sharpening the rosary on the cement, and once I saw that happening, I go, okay, here we go.
Do we want to get to the escaping part of this episode?
That's pretty much it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where it began.
Yeah, so
yeah.
no, go ahead.
Well, yeah, so yeah, obviously Carol sharp. Like Carol's had enough of the conversation. She realizes what's going down, and she sharpens up the rosary and knifes her way out of the duct tape cuffs. And what happens? She gets out of there.
Maggie. She rescues Maggie first.
Yeah, she rescues Maggie. Oh, and the way this happens, I thought was kind of dumb. It's like, all right, let's leave all of them alone and go figure stuff out. Let's just conveniently leave a room. I didn't even know what's happening in Maggie's room. I forgot that like what was happening there. And it's like, oh, I guess she just left that room. Apparently, Chell
Chell left the room. Yeah.
Paula got paranoid. Like, she got super paranoid, thinking that, oh my god, they're right outside. They're here. I think I hear something. That must be them. Like, she got almost panicky. And it seemed a little out of character, but I guess knowing what Rick's group is capable of, I guess she'd have reason to think for the worst. But I think at that point she was like, okay, we need to get an all hands on deck situation because these two are locked up. They're not going anywhere. I'm not too worried about them. We need to be worried about what's coming in from the outside. That's kind of how I took it. But yeah, it seemed a little. It seemed a
They're
little.
going to set the zombie traps. I mean, they didn't say it. They're going to say, hey, we're going to put zombies by the door. That's what they were going to do. That was their plan.
cool
Yeah.
zombie traps. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Those are sweet zombie
Good
traps that did not pay off for one person. But we'll get there. But yeah. So they
Freeze Maggie.
freeze Maggie. Maggie unleashes rage upon Miles.
On Miles, yeah. But after they see that Donnie had already turned, they put like a rope around his
Yeah,
They rope around his belt, and they tie him, and he actually takes down. Well, he gets Miles' arm at the very least, and then Maggie does unleash.
That was cool too. Like she thinks, okay, I'm not gonna kill him.
Use
I'm just gonna let him bleed out. And then she's like, oh, he's already dead. So it's like Plan B.
Yeah, he was already like turning. He heard that raspy
Yeah,
water
yeah.
breath starting to come out of him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was an easy way for them not to deal with killing
Yeah.
guys. So one up Rick and Glenn killing people in their sleep last week. They got
that's a
that
good point.
scenario.
Yeah.
But yeah, then so there's that trap. Balls gets bit, and then surprise Maggie comes in and does more to her. Really takes her down. Then we got like camera POV shot and everything of Maggie's like just
That's
unleashed rage upon
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
I thought Alicia Witt, probably the best scene of the show from her, was when she walked back into that room where Carol was and saw that she was escaped, and the look on her face was just like horror, rage, surprise, fear. I mean, it was like, I don't know, she pulled that off. Like,
Oh, Alicia Witt. You mean?
magnificently.
Yeah, right. I was thinking of Miles when she walked in the room.
Yeah,
She
when she
goes,
walked in.
"Where are you, Magnolia?"
No.
She goes,
No,
Yeah.
Paula, when she walked in, it was just like, I was like, man, that was pretty awesome.
Then what? Chell gets back in there, and they have their
Maggie,
scuffle.
no, I see. We see the walker trap at the door, and then Carol actually pulls a gun on Paula. She can shoot her, but instead basically pulls a Morgan and says, "Hey, you just run, just go, please, just go." Like she tries to get her to run away, and then around the corner, Chell comes around and gets into a knife fight with Maggie, and then I think Carol actually wings Paula with a bullet, kind of hits her in the arm or something,
Yeah, she
shoulder
hits her
or
in the
something
arm,
like that.
yeah, on the shoulder,
But then
yeah.
Maggie, we have a little knife swath against the stomach, and then once Carol sees that, takes down Chell with a headshot, and then we're back to Carol and Paula again with the gun to them, and they're hesitating in the hallway, talking to each other.
Then, of course,
Right.
Walker gets loose because, of course.
So they.
You know, we haven't mentioned this much, but there's a lot of like random like stray walkers in this episode, like in the beginning, and like and they just kind
Yeah.
it is neat to see the saviors. They just kind of handily take care of them.
Yeah.
There's never much of a there's not much hesitation. Like you see a number of times, they just kind of walk up, stab in the face, and move on. Like
Yeah.
once again presents human being a bigger threat at this point in the series than the walkers.
Well, and they mentioned, they're like, well, I think one of them says, I thought we cleared this place out. And then somebody says, yeah, but that was like a month ago or something. Like, they make it sound like at one point it was clear, but obviously they haven't been here in a while, and they've come back
That's the
in.
people that are still alive at this point in the apocalypse. They have to be so. It must be second nature to kill these walkers. I mean, there's no other way around it. Anyone that survived up to this point has to be a trained killer or disposer.
So this facility, then, if they cleared it out and the walkers came back in and reinfested, this place must have the same front door on it that the Star Labs has in The Flash. Everybody gets it.
It was walking in and out of that
So
place.
Carol and Paula tussle again, and I mean, again, Carol had a second opportunity to shoot Paula right there and doesn't.
It doesn't. She
Run,
keeps,
get
telling
away,
her
right.
run, get away.
And the gun, and finally she moves so close, of course, that Paula makes a move. They wrestle. Carol, ends up impaling Paula with one of the zombie traps, and then gets her face. Paula's face is eaten up.
which has her just right next to a walker, and the walker just rips her face off. And you see it's ripped off because when she turns into when she's like a walker later on, you see
Gone.
her
They just eat her face all the way off.
Yeah.
So it's like that's like of all the characters get a horrible death. I mean that was pretty rough. I mean,
Yeah.
jeez.
Did you guys watch The Talking Dead?
No.
Yeah. It was cute. She said she loved it. She was like, she was thrilled by that death. She goes, that was a proper Walking Dead death.
And
That
they
was
really,
just right. So she was
yeah, they really did it
really
with prosthesis. Like, she's like, yeah, it's kind of nerve-wracking
Yeah.
because I know they're professionals and I know there's a prosthetic, but somebody literally is putting their teeth on my face and ripping it off. So it was cool. They kind of showed the prosthetic that was on her before the scene, where you kind of see where it was glued down and stuff. And she's like, yeah, it was like 2 gallons of blood just running down the front of me.
Yeah, I thought it was cute how she shared the story of how she actually got cast. Like she said that Gimple started following her on Twitter, and they started just direct messaging on Twitter, and then she goes, okay, yeah, come on. Like it was just that's how it happens, I guess, sometimes. But cool, good for us. She's a good actress.
Agreed. She's had pretty big roles lately of just playing rough and tumble, like really rough characters lately. I don't know if you saw her stint on Justified, but she was on a season of Justified, and it was the same thing. She's
She's a good character.
really,
Actress. I enjoy when she pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to Rick coming in. Well, Glenn beats down the door, and Maggie runs into him and says, "We killed everybody. Everybody's dead. It's in here. We took care of it." And Daryl gives a hug to Carol, which is real nice. And she says she's not okay, and he gives her a nice big hug. And Rick makes an ultimatum with Primo and says, "Hey, look, man, your people are dead. You want to tell us what's going on? You want to tell us who's Negan?" And he smiles and goes, "I'm Negan." And Rick's not impressed, and basically shoots him in the head. That was a very cool scene.
yeah. To back up a little bit, when the rest of the Savior's crew comes, they're able to kind of funnel them into that room with where they pour the gas, and then Carol takes the lighter, lights up a cigarette, and tosses the cigarette in, and they lock him in and burn him alive. And
Didn't he smell gas? Like, I heard him saying it's slick. Be careful, guys. Didn't they say, "Hey, that's gasoline on the floor"? Like,
They said like this door's locked, and then they shut the door on her.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It was like
There's 4 or 5
really
guys, right in there.
Yeah.
But I was
Okay,
curious what the
okay.
plan was. Like I just like chew him from behind. So oh, they got a whole. That's pretty vicious.
I knew once she was purposely like lighting up the cigarette and had the lighter, I'm like, oh, she's gonna burn somebody down. Like it was so deliberate the way they did that. But again, Carol, once she makes that move, like once she escapes, it's like, okay, it's off. Like back to the old, back to the Carol, last season Carol, and just full force. And
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, when Rick and the gang get there, you kind of see a sense of remorse on their face as far as like, hey, we just had to go through something horrible, but we got it done.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say
Yeah.
Carol's like, I would say she's back to full strength as far as like I'm just the no nonsense.
No,
I'm just
no.
gonna burn bodies and nobody's looking badass.
No.
But at the same time, yeah, I do think there'd be an understanding of what she's doing more, if that makes sense. Where like she probably still kill, but there'll be a little less of non-emotion to go with it.
yeah, absolutely.
Which is what you hope Morgan would strive to, I guess, eventually, right? Like
Yeah.
in this world, obviously not justifying like it's okay because they're bad, like murder anybody. It's a TV show, so I'm trying to speak in terms of the characters on the TV show.
Sure.
Why is Carol having this crisis? I'm sure we're going to find out next week because it seems like there's more of this coming. But is it really
Well, I
Negan's
think the boy was
philosophy?
Sam. I think it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a long time coming as far as the stuff she's been doing over the course of these seasons. That she's become more of a hardened killer. But a combination of what she was battling with Morgan over in a psychological sense, mixed with the kind of there's this little boy that I became somewhat close to that, like I think Rusty brought up last week, resembles my daughter to a degree in terms of like here's an innocence that I can shape in some way, and she lost that. And so I think it's finally getting to her now that she's in a place where she's not constantly having to fight her way out of every situation because they're in Alexandria, which is a much more peaceful town where she can make cookies. She has some time to think about the things she's done, and it's getting to her. She's made a graveyard.
Yeah. No, I
She's a graveyard. She's
maybe
20
20
kills, by the way. And 23, I guess, if you count the burned bodies of the people that she listed.
Yeah.
The burn guys.
I think it's just you can only go so long acting that way and carrying yourself that way. And to look at what was going on when she took that road, right? She was at her loneliest. I mean, some of that was when she was on her own. She took the bodies out. Was it Karen and David? She took out and burned.
Right.
And did that, and that was kind of a thing she had to shoulder herself. She did that on her own. Then when she got bounced out, the way she kind of got back in with the group was just being, the lone badass. And I think it's just maybe to some degree her acting that way and carrying herself that way is, just it's the solo journey, right? It's not the member of a community and being a part of it. And again, look at Morgan. He kind of went through the same thing. When he was kind of on his journey before he met
Eastman.
Yeah, before he met him, same kind of thing, and kind of came out of it changed and realized that he needed to be a part of something and to kind of be more at peace with himself, because ultimately I think some of these people are starting to think it's like, if you lose yourself, then what's the point? Like, what are you living for if the only thing you live every day is to get up and murder people?
All that aside, I don't know what Tobin's intentions are for Carol, but I think we all collectively went when Daryl hugged her, right?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
That was a nice moment.
Everyone's been shipping that.
Well, I mean, regardless of this, I'm not, I don't think there's any implication of like, that romance coming back or whatever. But at the same time, it's like, these characters are so like strong as far as like the relationship between them goes specifically. It's like, I get it right there. It's like, yeah, you were worried about that girl you like. I mean, it's like, okay, sorry, woman. Sorry, women listeners. We call her a girl. Habit.
Aaron at WDTV podcast.
I say boys. But I mean, that was a nice like, hey, okay. And same with like Glenn and Maggie. Obviously, the two of them are like kindred spirits at this point. It's like, oh, good, okay.
Yeah,
They've been through a lot. I mean, really. So it makes sense.
And of course, we could, there's a lack of Rick in this episode. The producers can't go. We go back and Rick shoots somebody in the face, so we got one of those again.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
What did he get? And Primo made the worst decision possible. He's like, I'm Negan.
Yes.
Rick's like, well, you're dead now.
You're dead.
I'm sorry it came to this. That's it.
Obviously, we know Rick doesn't believe him, right? I don't think he was confused by this. He was kind of like, this guy's not going to talk.
No.
Like,
No, I didn't think it was Negan.
Man, I almost wish there was somebody else there and Rick could have just said, so anybody else want to be Negan?
yes, that would have been amazing.
Man, that would have been a way to end it.
Or if he turned to the camera and said, what?
So that is that.
And then the last image is Carol like gripping the rosary very intensely, bleeding from her hands.
To the point, yeah. And again, penance. Obviously, sticking with the that theme. Kind of flagellation, whatever you want to call it, penance. Just kind of her way of kind of helping relieve maybe some of the guilt for the things that she's done.
It'll be. I'm more interested in the Carol now based off of the relationship between her and Morgan. I mean, obviously they hinted at it last week where like Morgan and her talking again, and not getting into silly fights about things. So I'm curious to see her back in Alexandria dealing with Morgan now, and like what kind of if they come to terms in some way or even team up. In some, which I'm assuming we all I think we all wanted that to begin with, right? But when Morgan first entered, it's like these two badasses can get together, it'd be amazing. And then we realized that Morgan has some issues with being as the amounts of badassery that he wants to actually do. But now that they're somewhat closer to the same page, I feel like their discussions will be more interesting. So I look forward to seeing where that goes.
Yeah. Any prediction? Do you think Morgan's gonna pull away from the extreme pacifist and maybe kind of temper it with I'll do what needs to be done and nothing more?
I feel like the show's done a fine job of setting up multiple characters that could die. So it's like it's hard to have an exact prediction on like what's going to happen with what, because I feel like if Negan does something terrible to somebody that's not Morgan, then maybe Morgan would lighten up as far as pacifism goes to deal with this kind of issue that's presented itself. At the same time, I don't know. Maybe Morgan's one of the people that like doesn't make it up at the end of the season. I wouldn't be a fan of that, but we'll see. Especially having been gone for so long until he's end of the season and then he's like taken away from us. It's like, well, that sucks. It'll be neat to see what the development is based off an understanding that someone that's more closer to what he's thinking, like Carol, can bring to the table, as opposed to like Rick, who's just like, Morgan, I'll hear you out, but I don't care what you have to say. That kind of attitude.
I mean, Lenny James is a pretty serious actor. I don't see him staying on forever, I guess, but maybe he will. I mean, I would like to see more of him. I would like to see Morgan turn from this pacifist way into a complete psycho killer. Go through the full 180. I mean, maybe next season or the season after, if we're so lucky. Hopefully, we are.
So before we continue on with our Buster ratings, I'd like to take a minute and talk about our sponsor, DCBService.com. That's Discount Comic Book Service, where you can find your comics, trade paperbacks, graphic novels, hardcovers, all kinds of collectibles at cheap discounts, or very good discounts. 10, 20, 25, 30, 50% off, and occasionally new number ones at 75% off if you're lucky. But there's plenty of Walking Dead related items for fans of The Walking Dead if you're not into the comics. One of the things I noticed that we didn't talk about in last month or the month before is Eagle Moss, which is a British company. If you're not familiar with them, they make these really cool lead figurines. They've been mostly focused around the comics and Star Wars and Star Trek and things like that. Comes with a little magazine. It's really, they kind of promote it really as a magazine that you get the figure. But they've started a series on The Walking Dead, and you can pre-order that this month. They do 2 a month that they solicit, and this month is the Water Walker and Sasha. Those are the 2 for this month, and that's magazine numbers 9 and 10. So I'm not sure how many they're going to do of these, but every month there'll be 2 more to solicit, so you pick those up. And those are 25% off. So instead of paying $20 for these really, really cool little metal figurines with, like I said, the magazine that comes with it is a pretty good description of each character that they go through and a lot of little facts and tidbits and stuff like that. You can pick up for $14.96. So that's some cool new Walking Dead related stuff if you're so inclined, as well as, again, trade paperbacks and the regular monthly comics that come out for a steep discount. And if you want to get caught up on the old stuff, you can head on over to InStockTrades.com, where you can find great steep discounts on all the Walking Dead trade paperbacks, hardcovers, omnibuy, compendiums, however you like it, they got it over there. And if you place a minimum of $50 order, your shipping is free. They're great folks to do business with. Fantastic customer service. Your stuff comes very, very nicely packed. Things just don't get damaged. Like I said before, I find I get better packaging and delivery than I do from Amazon. So some of you may not be surprised by that, but it is always nice to order from there and know that my hardcovers aren't going to be all dinged up or the corners mashed. So definitely check them out at DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. And we thank Discount Comic Book Service for their support of the Walking Dead TV podcast. So, Busters. Craig, you go first.
Sure. I'll give it a 3.75 Busters. It was definitely a solid 3.5 until the end of the action, and then Rick came in and has just sewed it up for me. So 3.75. It was definitely a bottle episode, as I said. It was designed to contain the budget and keep it a smaller story, especially after the intense action and expense that was spent on last week's episode. It kind of makes sense to slow things down a little bit, although it didn't feel slow. The acting was superb. I can see Alicia Witt go all day, mano a mano with either Carol or Maggie. I think it was a very good script, a good episode. It could have been a lot worse, and it could have felt a lot slower if we had worse acting and bad writing, and we've seen that before. That clunky handling on The Walking Dead. This really didn't feel clunky at all. It felt good. It did take us out of the action a bit, but I guess it needed to. Again, solid episode, 3.75.
Since I don't do quarters, I'm sticking with 3.5. But it's not too much of a fault on the episode's core stuff, because I like the Carol stuff a lot. I think it does really well for the show. I think Alicia Witt's interaction with her were very effective. I had some problems with the other characters just because it seemed a little too cartoony for me. But as far as getting a kind of a scaled back episode compared to some of the more grander episodes such as last week, I thought this one did a good job for the most part, kind of having some interesting things to go over, again involving Carol mainly. And then the end obviously ratcheted things up and was quite effective as well. So 3.5 Busters.
I give it a 4. I thought that the episode itself was pretty good. I just thought the character interaction stuff between Alicia Witt and Melissa McBride were just top notch, and that's what really made the episode. And I honestly think if it wasn't for some of the silly secondary characters like we're talking about, and specifically what you mentioned, Aaron, I think it probably would have scored a lot higher. But I just kind of like that psychological play between characters, and when you're trying to guess at the motivations behind a particular character, those are always interesting episodes to me. So I like it quite a bit. All right, so now that we got our busters out of the way, what did the Facebook audience have to say?
We have a great Facebook group. First of all, actually, we have over 736 members. That's 9 new members this week. So the group keeps growing. Thank you. And every week they leave their buster ratings in a post that we set up each week. So thank you to all those people that have joined. And let's go to our buster ratings. Susan Monk said 4.5. We are all Negans out of 5. That fight in the hallway between Carol and Paula made me pretty nervous with all the sharp objects and grabby walkers too close for comfort. Our group has earned a spa day if they can make it back home safely.
Brent Jones has 3.8. Cold calculated Carols out of 5. Liked it, but it felt like it drug on at times. Enjoyed the bits and pieces. We're learning about Negan. He's going to be super pissed.
Carl Hooker gives it 4.5 flaming saviors out of 5. 2 of my fave characters working their magic in their own way. Melissa McBride is killing it on the show. Too bad Alicia Witt got posted on Facebook, or would that be Facebit?
Oh.
Great death though. Who will Negan take this out on?
Lori Carmichael Howell 4 sharpened rosaries out of 5. Like the mostly all women episode. Nice change for the show. Melissa McBride was on fire. Carol was so complex and nuanced. Love the Carol Daryl moment at the end. We all did. Interesting with the We Are All Negan. Can't wait to see how this will play out.
Direct writes, I give this one 3 Unleashed Carols out of 5. This has been my least favorite episode of the season. The captors were least interesting characters in a long while. I did not care about them. Carol saved the day for this episode.
David B. the Third, 4.6 Happy Secretary's Day out of 5. Paula. Carol kept me on the edge of my seat wondering if she was playing them or had really gone soft.
Mike Jones, 3.5 premium unleaded cans out of 5. This was a solid 5 until Carol and Maggie were suddenly left alone, and then it fell off the tracks. The tension between Paula and Carol was great, but what a waste to kill her off so fast. I agree. It was like 2 episodes for me. Front half of the episode was amazing, but the back half was sloppy. A great ending, but too many holes.
Sofa writes 3 cups of coffee out of 5. This episode was awesome until it wasn't. Carol and Maggie were great all the way through, but what was a really tight episode fell off the rails when this overly cautious group decided to leave the room out of nowhere.
Ray Irvin 5. I know I always want to give 5s out of 5. This episode was incredible from start to finish. I feel like our group was clearly just better than theirs. I could really feel the pure torment Carol was facing through, as well as Maggie becoming cold stone mama bear. A+ acting from everyone.
Karen Chai 4 rosaries out of 5. It was slow at first, but still completely tense. I like the questions it presented. Carol's slow unraveling. Is she or is she not pretending? Shell telling Maggie you're not the good guys, etc. Cheered on Carol and Maggie's killings at the end. Thought-provoking episode. Lastly, is Maggie the new killer Carol? Ooh.
Robert writes 4. Did you start a fire out of 5? I want to watch this again for the nuances, but my 2 main observations are: I think Carol's half acting and half serious, caught up in her act as it triggered her actual feelings, regrets lately. That added as much to the episode as anything, and it was extremely interesting to me seeing our group up against people most likely as capable and ruthless as themselves. That particular confrontation could have seriously gone either way.
Sherrington 3.75. Negan's going to be so angry out of 5. Episode started off quite slow, but ramped up at the end. Carol needs to speak to Father Gabriel. He's losing his faith, and she's finding hers.
And finally, Rob Cook 4.5. Smoking kills messages out of 5. This was another intense episode. A slow burner, until the last third when it all goes fully auto bad. Our heroes are no longer the good guys. Carol's going to need some serious therapy, and I'm glad I don't have a crazy PA like Paula.
Okay, so those are all the excellent Facebook reviews we got, the Buster ratings. I encourage everybody to go check that out. You can look up Walking Dead TV Podcast on Facebook, or go to facebook.com/groups/WDTV Podcast. Really appreciate everybody's enthusiasm there. I wanted to not call out, but call attention to Karen Shee in our Facebook group. Actually had a post of sliced up beets and cookies on a cooking sheet. She attempted to cook Carol's beet cookies, her beets by Carol.
And you see her hashtag? Did you see her? Is it hashtag look at the flower? Like, Lizzie, look at the flowers?
Yeah, yeah.
That's cute.
So somebody asked, how were they? And she said, I didn't follow this recipe to a T, so they turned out more fluffy than chewy. I used cashew instead of acorn flour. My friends said they tasted like carrot cake. Huh.
That's so cool.
Not bad.
That's so cool.
But definitely a.
Oh, that's great. We have such great listeners and great members of the group. If you listen to the show, but you're not a member of the podcast group, you really should just get in. Facebook.com/groups/WDTV podcast. You just hit join. We'll get you in very quickly. It doesn't take long to get in. It takes just as soon as one of us can basically go on and get you in. You're in, and it's a lot of fun. It's interactive, and just check us out.
I should have my written reviews of the episode every week, as well as the young folks, which I'll always post at the Walking Dead group page. And yeah, actually, I even mentioned recently that there may be some delay in my reviews, but actually it seems like things have been altered where now I can publish whenever I'm ready, and so I am happy to get those up as soon as possible, which is generally pretty late at night.
Yeah, it's like the review's up before it's on. It's already, the episode airs the next day. It's already up. It's pretty fast. Yeah. Great reviews, by the way, Aaron. Actually, if you haven't read Aaron's reviews, they're really very good and very funny, actually, most of the time.
Appreciate it. I should also add, if you like The Walking Dead, obviously right now, the show that has nothing to do with that, but the show The Americans comes back this week, and that's a show that
I can't wait.
I covered that as well on YoungFolks.com. It has very little to do with zombies, but just want to point out, if you happen to enjoy some of the things I'm writing, that's another one that I also write about, but I'm not going to post it on the Facebook page.
Commies, not zombies, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is such an awesome show. Oh man, I love it. I have a thing for 80s nostalgia, obviously, if you can't tell. Talking about Halt Gets Fired.
I'm in Jersey. I'll take you for a ride in my Kickcar anytime, baby.
I'm
That's
there,
how
buddy.
wears his Truffle Shuffle t-shirt when doing this podcast, by the way.
Oh.
With my members only jacket.
And you have a Eugene mullet? You got the mullet going on?
No, but so do a little bit of spoiler for the next episode. So if you don't want to hear this forward like two minutes, but did you see in the little snippet for next episode? No more mullet.
It's gone. It looks trimmed. I shouldn't say it's gone. It looks well trimmed. Like it's cut back quite a bit. Yeah.
It looked like it was gone to me.
It's like he's losing his power. He's losing. Well, he's gaining his warrior power.
Gaining some.
Warrior.
Yeah. So in addition to checking out Aaron's reviews that he posts up on the Facebook page and at theyoungfolks.com, you can check out Craig over at the Auto Chat Show. You can look that up on iTunes. And on this very website where you pick up this podcast, hhwld.com, you can find the podcast I do, It's All Connected, which is the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. You can find Jim Deet's DCTV podcast. That is also out weekly. If you love movies, and if you watch The Walking Dead, you probably love movies. Definitely check out Out Now with Aaron and Abe as well. Some of us aren't lucky enough to see every movie as it comes out every week, but we live vicariously through.
You certainly get the lowdown on what we thought of them on a weekly basis on our silly show that we keep going.
All right, so
this is our 5th year doing the show, by the way, guys.
Wow.
We're out now. We started back in 2011, so
it's great. How many episodes do you have again? Like over 200, right?
We are at officially 232.
232,
If we count the bonuses and the commentaries we do, we're like well over 300.
Oh, we're not even counting those. Those are episodes as far as I'm concerned. It means not a movie review, but it's.
But yeah, Abe and I are very strict about our episodic numbering. So
Oh,
for some
okay,
reason,
all right.
for some reason, we're at 232, even though we have way over 300 episodes.
That's great. great.
Got to stay consistent. Yeah, so definitely check out all those podcasts that all of us collectively participate in or run ourselves. So until there's no more room in hell and the dead walk the earth, remember, smoking kills, especially when Carol's around.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.